Last week, Governor Phil Scott sat down for an interview with GNAT in the governor's ceremonial office on the second floor of the State House in Montpelier. The governor's proposed budget, where he has asked the legislature to level fund and not increase taxes, was the starting point of the conversation.
In terms of, I've been talking about the issues, the rising costs of living in Vermont, this crisis of affordability that I believe is real. And I hear it from Vermonters every single day that they can't take it anymore. And we're losing some of our demographics. Our population is stagnant, but we're losing the category from 25 to 45. Our workforce is declining. Keep these figures in mind. We lose 6 workers every single day on average in this state. There are less people working today than there were 7 years ago. So a shrinking workforce. Couple that with declining student population. We lose on average 3 students every day to a natural decline in population. And on top of that, the other figure to keep in mind is there are 3 babies born to opiate addiction every day as well. So when you look at the costs keep rising, our workforce declines, our population is stagnant, there are less people paying into the system, which leads to the rising cost of living. So that's why I've said for a number of years, we need to focus on the economy. We have to grow this economy in order to provide more revenue because Vermonters are tapped out. So it was fairly clear from my perspective that they didn't want to see any more rise in taxes or fees. And I made that commitment. And we developed a budget that was balanced, that wasn't going to raise taxes and fees, and was there to live within our means. When I took office, or soon after the election, we were faced with a dilemma of having a $70 million shortfall. There is less money available this year than last year. So from my business experience, I've always thought that when you have a revenue decline, you have to do a couple of different things. You have to cut your overhead. You have to grow your product so you bring in more revenue. But the worst thing you can do is spend more money that you don't have. And that's the situation we're in right now. So I've contemplated, I said during the campaign, that we would not raise the budget anymore. We would stop the rise of the budget, inflationary budget projections by the economy and the growth in wages of the previous year. But this year is extraordinary because we don't have the revenue to even do that. We don't have enough. So I've asked everyone to level fund their budgets. We're level funding in state government. We've asked our own citizens to do that in their own daily lives. We've asked our businesses to do that, and I think it's appropriate that we ask the state government to do so. So I put out a budget that I believe is fair and balanced. The legislature has resisted thus far, but this is not abnormal. I've been in this building for 16 years. The governor, I don't recall any budget that a governor has put forward that has been rubber stamped and passed. There are a lot of steps along the way. There are a lot of negotiations. And I look forward to working with the legislature in order for them to find savings within education, where we spend $1.6 billion. There's got to be some money there. There's money in human services that we're already finding, which is the way we've reduced our budget. And we look forward to seeking more opportunities.
Do you have any hope or expectation that the Act 46 consolidations will generate some savings, or what I've heard is that that's unlikely to be big money, even if you save a superintendent's salary here and maybe some copy paper over there. It's not going to lead to the kind of savings that would make a substantial difference. Is it your hope that out of all these consolidations, at some point there do come some cost savings that would lighten the pressure on taxes?
Well, as I said during the campaign, Act 46 wasn't something that I would have contemplated and created. But I applaud the legislature for passing something that at least starts a conversation about what the real problem is. As I said, declining population, continuing costs rising leads to it's a recipe for disaster. So we have to get our spending under control, and at least we've come to a point, and it hasn't been easy, where school districts are talking about the spending aspect. And so, will there be savings in the future? I hope so. But is it happening fast enough for Vermonters? It isn't. And so we have to act now. We're going to have to deal with the situation we're in, and sometimes that takes some intestinal fortitude and tightening of belts. And it's not easy. I know it's not easy. But these are discussions that need to happen.
We asked the governor what advice or suggestions he might have for economic development agencies in southern Vermont for doing things that could prompt or merit state support.
I would say that this is across the state, regardless of whether it's in the southern or northern or western or eastern sectors of the state. It's all appropriate for us to do whatever we can to grow the economy. We have a great team that we put into place. Commissioner Sherling's doing a wonderful job. His deputy secretary is Ted Brady, who's also been involved in many aspects of development in Vermont. So we're going and looking under every rock. We're contemplating. We're asking people to think outside the box, bring their ideas to us. So that we can get some support within the legislature to adopt measures, invest in the future. Because if we don't invest in the economy, if we don't invest in jobs, if we don't invest in our workforce, then this situation is going to continue, and we're on a trajectory that is not sustainable.
But basically, there's no silver bullet, I guess, to. Or let me rephrase that. What do you think is Vermont's best drawing card to attract new businesses? I mean, is it the quality of life thing, or is there some other competitive advantage that we have that you think could be used to bring more folks here?
Vermont has a great brand, and again, the quality of life I think is a wonderful aspect that we continue to talk about and we should promote. I think we could do better in terms of marketing as well. We need to market what Vermont brings to the table, and we should also be contemplating, as I've said, affordable housing. There are areas where we have common goals across the spectrum. So if we can all agree that we want more affordable housing, and when I say that, I don't mean just low income. I mean affordable housing for a working class. And I think that's key. Is this crisis of affordability that I talk about a lot is real. And so if we want to attract people to the state, to backfill the youth in our state, and it has all kinds of benefits when you think about that. And when you think about all the challenges we face, a lot of it is because of our demographics, that we've lost that category, the workforce. And again, if we can rebuild the workforce, if we can create more opportunity, if we can create an environment that is affordable, then we will rebuild our coffers. We will be able to reduce the cost of living, attract more jobs, more businesses, and we can't forget about the businesses who are here, because if they can expand, if they can grow, that would be the best scenario. So it's all hands on deck. We're looking for opportunities amongst different agencies, amongst different sectors, whether it's manufacturing or agriculture or tourism. It's all aspects of our economy that we need help with. But I think we have a tremendous opportunity in the future.
Paying for some kinds of social services, like those involving families and mental health, means social workers often labor long hours for low pay, which results in high staff turnover. We asked the governor if there was a tipping point when new money might have to be found.
Well, I think we all have to, in all our lives, we have to prioritize. and that's what I've been advocating. And I think mental health, public safety is a high priority. And so when you take a look at that, how do we pay for it? I think we have to look at how we do business in the state government, and efficiencies and modernization. That's why we put together 3 executive orders on my first day in office to talk about modernization. We put a team together to look throughout state government, find where there's redundancies, find opportunities for us to deliver services in a much more expeditious way, in a more efficient way, while giving more benefit to those we serve. And we found some already. Take for instance, we're directing those enrolled in Vermont Health Connect. Now we have a lot of question on the federal level what's going to happen to the Affordable Care Act. So at this point in time, I'm not quite ready to do something different with Vermont Health Connect, which I still think needs to be done. But until we hear something back from the federal government, we are in a bit of a holding pattern. But at the same time, we are going to ask anyone who's not enrolled in Medicaid to go directly to the insurance companies. And that will save us close to $3 million, just that action alone. So that's real money. So if we can find areas of opportunity where we can save some money within the state government, because we're spending a tremendous amount of money. Half of our budget, half of our $6 billion budget is spent in human services. So we're spending a lot of money there. And when you think about that, half of it's in human services, and another 30% is in education, another $1.6 billion. So pretty soon there's 4.6 out of $6 billion. So it doesn't leave a whole lot for things like transportation, things like public safety, buildings, general services, Agency of Natural Resources. It really is a fairly finite amount. So you look where the money is, and if there's ways of delivering services better, more efficiently, and provides more resources so that we can invest in those areas where we should be investing in higher wages for those involved in the designated agencies that are providing services that we rely on, then we should do that to create more burden on already overtaxed Vermonters. I think they've had enough, and they've spoken loud and clear. And that's why I've said I will veto a budget that raises taxes and fees. So those are the limits. I think that we're spending enough money, and we should be able to find savings within the budget that we have as I presented.
It will be interesting to see how successful the governor fares in his goal to cap spending and taxes at 2016 levels. The legislature has already turned thumbs down on one idea to level fund local education budgets. Right now, a spirit of comedy and open to compromise atmosphere seems to be prevailing in the State House, but after town meeting, push will come to shove, and the deal-making may begin in earnest. For the GNAT TV News Project, I'm Andrew McKeever.